Well, hello everyone and welcome to the video. With the presently upcoming next month sale in Star Citizen, and with a lot of new blood come into the game, got interested in Star Citizen in the past couple of years, I feel like there's a lot of people in a similar situation that are just thinking about buying new ships, thinking about getting the upgraded ships. And so I thought this was the perfect time to make sure I did a sort of guide, a walkthrough, a talking type thing, just because it's something I've been talking about a lot and people on Twitter didn't realise that you could make such big savings, and I've had to walk a few people on Twitter through it, so I thought if I just make this video, instead of having to go through this process every time, I can just sort of direct people here. And if these people on Twitter, like at this point, there's going to be others, so there's, yeah, just one place for you to find this helpful. So this is mainly aimed at people that are relatively new to Star Citizen, but there will be a lot of stuff in here that even old backers don't realise, because there's been a couple of times as well when I've been talking to an old backer and like they didn't realise like that such a thing like sitting on them is a good idea. He was like applying, like one of the people I was talking to, he was applying upgrades the second he got them all the time, and I was like no, sit on it unless you really have to apply that upgrade. But we'll talk about that point later. So even for the more experienced backers, there may be wee tidbits in here that you find helpful. So yes, with that all out of the way, I think we should definitely just jump straight in and get talking about... Oh, actually, nope, there's one more thing I want to talk about first. Is obviously this guide, and one of the reasons I'm making it is with the IAE next month in Star Citizen's birthday. But this will also be really helpful for people in just before the Fleet Week and Alien Week, the other point in the year, because it's the two big sales and you can do these upgrade chains at either point in time for either at the first quarter of the year or the last quarter of the year with the IAE or with the Fleet Week. The only difference is absolutely every single ship is available at the October sale, but the one earlier on in the year, only military ships are available, and then alien ships shortly afterwards in Alien Week. So, let's jump in and start talking about the first and what is probably the most single important point for this whole video. And that is, you only need a starter ship. You only need your starter ship. Everything else is just surplus to your needs to play the game. There are lots of people that have the bigger ships already, so you could always find yourself someone that already has a bigger ship. They're normally more than glad to have extra crew members or extra people to play with. I know I'm currently looking for more people to play with, so there you go, there's one person already. You only need your starter ship as an get access to the game, to play the game, get your starter package. That's it. You don't need to spend another penny. The only reason that I think is a valid reason to then spend more money is if you love the project, if you love the game, if you love the franchise, and you want to go the extra mile in supporting it and making it be as big and as good a product as it possibly could be. You want to go the extra mile. That is when you then start spending more and again going past your starter ships, in my opinion. I don't think there is any need for anyone else to be doing it. Unless you're absolutely loaded and you hate grinding and money is no concern to you, you're just minted, then you can just throw money every situation to, yeah, then... Obviously, I'm not living in a situation like that. I'm relatively poor, I have a family, so every penny is a prisoner in my situation. So yeah, that is the first and what I feel is the most important point. Now, moving on to the second point. The way to gain massive savings is with CCU chains, and I'm going to be talking about showing you how to build that in a second. But before you even start thinking about the CCU chains, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions. You need to think about stuff like, what sort of ships are you interested in? What sort of ships do you want to fly, and that could be really hard for a lot of people at first. For me, the big thing is I want to have, I'm planning to have 2 accounts, as many as you well know, if you've been around for a while. I plan to have 2 accounts. One where I've got a really strong economic footing that can then finance me to do whatever style gameplay I want, because I love variety in my gameplay. So I want to be able to spend maybe 1 week mining, get really bored of it, and then be able to then go, right, I've got the money, I've got the backing to then go and do a different gameplay loop. And that is what my main account is. So I'm going to be getting lots of industry ships, getting a strong economic foothold in the game, so I can hit the ground running and go boom. Now my second account, I plan for the early days to be my zero to hero account, as they'd call it, where you're starting with nothing, you're going to have to respect the grind, you're starting off with your starter ship, doing the baby missions, having to scrape together every tiny bit of credit you can achieve just to get your next step up the ladder, and then do the same again to get your next step up the ladder and work your way from zero to hero. That's my second account, and then once I've done that with the second account, I plan for the second account to be my unlawful account and my main account to be my lawful account. So that is me, what I personally plan to do, and you're going to need to do the same sort of line of thought for yourself. If you have absolutely no idea on what you want to do, the thing I see most new players doing, I did this myself when I first got into the game, is you sit there, you just sit with your starter package, and then you're like, oh, it's only a wee bit of money to get upgraded to an Avenger Titan, so I'll upgrade to the Avenger Titan. And you get your upgrade and you're sitting, you're flying around the Avenger Titan, then you realise, oh, this other ship costs the same or just a wee bit more or a wee bit less, so I'll trade in that pack and I'll get this one, and I'll play with that one a bit and I'll do that, and it's, yeah, and then you'll go, oh, I'll put another 20 in and I'll try this bigger ship, and then you'll end up with roughly around enough money in the game at some point to have a wee bit flexibility. You've not made any savings because you've not bought any like stuff on sale, like discounted starter packages, you've not bought any discounted upgrades, so you've got, say, roughly $100 in raw credit worth of an account, and you're swapping around, like trying out the Avenger Titan for a couple of weeks, you trade that in, you try out a 325A for a couple of weeks, you trade that in, and then you try out an Arrow for a couple of weeks, you trade that in, and you just keep doing this flexible thing. And that is great for your first year or two invested in the game. And I feel like almost everyone I've talked to, that is what they did. That's what I did early on in my first, I'd say probably year and a half of being a citizen. But then, for me personally, it came to a sale. And I was like, oh, I can get this discounted package. So if I trade in, let's say for argument's sake, I've got $150 in the game at this point. If I trade in all my stuff right now, and I can get this discounted package here, and then I'll be able to get up to 200 in the game with putting only, say, 30 in. But huge problem, all of a sudden that's me locked in. If I ever trade in this package, I'm not going to be able to get that better price again. And so that's where we finally come to the CCU chains, and the reason you need to be a lot more careful, because up to this point mistakes don't punish us. We can trade things in and we're not losing any savings anywhere at any point in time. We're not missing out. We just get a trade in, buy this, buy that, happy days, no loss anywhere. Right, so these discounted starter packages, once you've started to go down the route of going down the discounts instead of this trading in constantly, you kind of are forced to stop doing the trading constantly to try out different stuff, because you're going to be giving up your savings each and every time you do that, unless you do the buyback, but you only get one of them a year, and you can't roll back your upgrades. So once you've applied that upgrade, you've got the cheaper discount, you've went up to the ship you want to try, you're kind of locked in there. You can only go up and not down. So you 100% need to start thinking about things a lot more once the discounts have started to pile up and in. And if you don't, you can start waving those discounts bye-bye. So that brings us to the first point. Well, the next point here, we branched on it earlier. I'll get rid of that pop-up. Sitting on your upgrades. This is what most people that build CCU chains do. They sit on their upgrades until they are 100% sure that, right, this is it, I've got it planned out, this is how we're going to do this upgrade chain. So if you don't know what a CCU upgrade is, it's in the store. I'll show you them in a second because I've found some people didn't even know upgrades were a thing. So that'll be the next thing we talk about, is I'll show you getting them in the store. As I said, I'm wanting this to be as low level as possible. So to a lot of you that have been in the game for a year or so, this will be a wee bit teaching you to suck eggs. But I want to go right back to the bare bones. So bear with me for those parts because somebody might need that information. But yeah, so for this part, assume you know what the upgrade is if you don't, and you're sitting on them. What you do is you sit on them. There we go, got my words right. And say you want to get to the Crucible, but you're not 100% set on that Crucible yet. So you've got all your upgrades sitting there. You don't apply them. The one exception I will say is, say you really like the Cutlass Black and you really want a Cutlass Black in game at the moment, but once the game's released, you're not too fussed, you're not really wanting that Cutlass Black. Apply the CCU chain up to the Cutlass Black level, so you've got your Cutlass Black to play with at this point in time, but then have the rest all the way up to the Crucible just sitting there until you're 100% set that you want that Crucible and you are 100% sure that you're not going to regret applying those upgrades. And also in this scenario that you're no longer needing that Cutlass Black, maybe you're getting it elsewhere, or maybe you want the loner ships that come with the Crucible more than you want the Cutlass Black. But yeah, extra food for thought there when you're wanting that Cutlass Black early. So sit on them, sit on them, sit on them until you're 100% set in stone. Because say you buy, again, we'll use the Cutlass Black going to the Crucible. Cutlass Black is a $100 ship. You're sitting at that point. Then the Crucible at this point in time is a $350 ship. It's probably going to go up. But you've bought £100 worth of CCUs and that gets you all the way there. That sounds pretty realistic. That £100 then goes straight up to a £350 ship. You apply them all, then all of a sudden something happens and you don't like the Crucible. Maybe they talk about this new ship coming out that's going to be 340 instead of 350, and they're talking about it, and it's like, to you, you're sitting there going like, oh, all the reasons I wanted the Crucible are better in this $340 ship, but I've applied it now and I can't go down, so I'm stuck with the Crucible. Then that means you're either going to have to get a second ship and then upgrade it to the 340 point, or lose your $150 worth of free ship upgrades. Or, like, well, this is back to the first one, where you would upgrade the Crucible then to something else and then build a second chain up to the ship you wanted. But say you only wanted the one ship, you'd have to either stick with the Crucible or lose $150 worth of upgrades. So yes, sit on them for as long as you possibly can, and then apply them once you are set. Heart is fully set. Like for me, the Crucible and the Endeavour, my heart is set. Applying those CCU chains, not a problem. For me, a lot of the time, I'm applying them up to a certain level of a ship I want to try. And then I'm trying out that ship for a bit, and then I'll get bored of flying that ship, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll maybe apply up to this level and try that ship for a bit. That's another way to do it, and it sort of brings back what we were talking about earlier on, all the trading it in, getting a different ship, trading it in, getting a different ship. It brings back that sort of feel of the early days for me of slowly going up the CCU chains and getting to try everything. So, finally, for those people that are sitting there going like, what is a CCU chain? What is he talking about? What are these CCU things? Because, like, what are they? Well, we'll go quickly pop on the store and we'll show you. Right, that is us here on the the Star Citizen webpage ship store, the ship, the website. And as you can see right now, it is the free fly for the ship showdown. So as you can see, anyone watching this much later than the date of recording and uploading, you'll see that this is just before the sale, really, next month. Now, once we're here on this, obviously you go to the pledge, a store, and then it'll load to the no page, and you come here and you, instead of buying standalone ships, which is then extras, ship upgrades. Once again, apologies for teaching people to suck eggs. I've been a fan for more than 5 seconds. So currently here you can take a wee shifty and see the state of my CCU chains at this point in time. The Vanguard Sentinel, I can't remember why I stopped at that part of the CCU chain. Hull C, I can't remember why I stopped at that point of the CCU chain. I think this ship, I'll need to get all my information out, but this is the one that's going to be the Crucible. I will be upgrading it again soon. Hull C is going to be a D. I think I'm just wanting one more piece of a chain before I upgrade it to there. Endeavour, that's, yeah, Chef Kiss is going to be staying there. The Vulture, the plan at the moment is it's going to be a Vulture for a while because I want to try out the new salvage mechanics. Then it's going to be upgraded to a Corsair in the CCU chain when the Corsair gets here, and I'm going to be then trying out the Corsair. So as I was talking about earlier, how you leave the CCU chain at the point you're wanting to try what you're wanting for the game at this time, and I like trying the ships, so yeah, I'm keeping them at that level, then working its way up to the one I have my heart set on. As I said, you want to sit on these upgrades as long as possible, and I have my heart set. I have been thinking about this a lot. I know what ships I want, and my heart is fully set in stone. There's going to be very little wiggle room, and I am fully aware that whenever I apply a CCU, there's a wee bit of risk that I might lose some savings, and a lot of savings when you chain them together. So, let's say we're going to go to all ships here. And then we're going to come down and say the way the upgrades work is when you get to these big sales, there will be a manufacturer of the day, an anvil day. For all the big manufacturers, they get a full day to themselves. To the smaller manufacturers, they're often lumped in groups of 3. So you'll have like a Tumblr, Argo, and some other manufacturer all clumped together for their day. And then other days you'll have like a fully Anvil day, a full RSI day, where they get a full day to themselves. And then on each of those days during the sale, there'll normally be War Bond upgrades, they are called. Now these War Bond upgrades are how you're getting the huge savings. So you get these upgrades, and you also, when ships are released, you generally get a War Bond upgrade and purchase for them as well. You cannot use credits to get these upgrades, and they generally have for a really cheap ship around the $60 mark. They're normally at a $5 discount. For a ship around the $200 mark, you're normally getting about a $10-15 discount. But some of them, when you get really up there, I'm trying to remember the Carrick one from a few years back. I think it was about $50-60 at a CCU in discount, so it was big money off. And then at first you're probably thinking like, oh, $5 upgrade, that's not great. How you do it is, say, let's just find some here. The Avenger, no, we're not doing the Avenger, I don't know why. 3258, $70 ship. Now you'll notice I've clicked on all ships. I've not clicked on my ships. There's nothing actually. We'll do something a wee bit more expensive so we can really hammer this home. Let's go Mercury Star Runner. We're wanting, there is a Mercury Star Runner War Bond, and that War Bond is at 240 price wise. So it's a $20 off War Bond. So what you're looking for then when you come here is you don't want to do, I wouldn't want to do it straight from a vulture. I'm saving only $20 at that point. That's not good. What you do, all ships. Again, apologies to the people that are used to this, sucking eggs. But as I said, I'm wanting this to be as low level of knowledge as possible. So we scroll down. We scroll down. And I'll tell you soon. So there we go. $240 upgrade. As we're saying, it's giving us a $20 discount. Now, that sucks because the Constellation Andromeda would have been an awesome ship to upgrade from because it is always available. This is something else you want to think about. So what ideally, if this was a $240 War Bond, so it would still appear as a $260 ship, except when you're here, there is options available. You click on it, then you click on the upper one, which is the cheaper one. And then if it was $240, you'd be looking for a ship at $135 value, because then when you upgrade from that to the 240, it only costs you 5, but then the ship's value goes up to 260. So if you get what I'm saying, so it's a 5, it costs you £5, but it gets you a £25 upgrade. Well, I'm saying pound because I'm British. Dollar upgrade. And then you chain them together. So again, if we were going back to the Vulture, we then start looking for an upgrade to the next level. So this is not a huge deal. One of the things I'll often do is if there is, see, there is no $135 ship that is always available. So what I would do then in this point is I'd get a Cutlass Steel one, and as you see here, 25, but if this was the War Bond like we were talking about, it would be only 5, and then we would get our $20 off. Then, now the steel's not available at the moment, so maybe I should have done something else, but that's not really the greatest. We'll just pretend it was the Andromeda we got. So then we'd get the Andromeda, and then we'd pretend this is the steel. We'd then come in and we would find an always available ship, and if we got store credits, it'd be a good idea. Or if we had store credits, it'd be a good idea to get an upgrade from a Taurus to the Andromeda with store credits, and then sit on that, and then hope down the line there will be a War Bond upgrade for the Andromeda, and then we can then chain that together. And as you can see, every time it's costing you $5, but you're getting, say, 20 off. And you buy another one that gets you $5 off, and then you get another one that gets you $60 off. So you're chaining all these together. And that is the essence of what it is. And then you sit on them, and you sit on them, and you sit on them. You do run a risk at some point a better offer comes up, like a better upgrade, and then you can then trade that one in, and you're only getting the new upgrade replaces it, which is better value. Then hey presto, happy days, which is awesome. Next point I wanted to talk about, oh yeah, and then just going back, rewind a second, if you did trade it in, then you've got store credit, which is then another, you can keep the store credit for then just picking up one of these to get you to the ship that you want, kind of thing. Or you, because again, you're wanting to have the War Bond upgrade to be as small as possible, because you have to pay for it with real money. So if you can use credit to sort of bridge that gap a wee bit, then you can put as little extra money down and still get the saving. So there we go, there's that. Right, next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is go back to my situation, and we'll use my situation again, the Vulture. Now, the reason there's an extra reason this is a really, really good ship for me to sit on right now. and that is because the Vulture has not yet been released. So one of the things that the CCU chaining that I don't see often talked about is when ships are released, they often go up in price. I have seen like a couple of the really big savings I've had is I had 2 Redeemers back in the day, CCU chains to up Redeemers, not because, and these were bought with store credit as well, so they weren't Warbond CCUs, and the reason I got 2 of them is because when ships are released, the price is going to go up. Now, for a Redeemer, it was originally $250, I think my upgrades were. And then I bought 2 of those upgrades from something like an Andromeda, let's just say for argument's sake. It was that long ago I can't remember. So there's 2 with credits, $10 upgrades I got. Those $10 store credit upgrades I got, that saved me about $200. Because the Redeemer, what is the Redeemer now? I don't think it's available. Is it available right there? It is available right now, $325. So each of those, that's $150 that saved me. Ships go up in price when they go from concept ships to in-the-game ships. So this Vulture right here. Now the Redeemer is a very sort of edge case. It went up a lot. The Carrack went up a lot. If you keep your ear to the ground and listen to the community, you will be able to find more of these ships that are probably going to go up a lot. The Endeavour, Crucible. There's a couple of them there for you now, little tidbits. Though those 2 examples, I will say, not great if you're planning to use them as parts of chains, but they are great. If you're wanting them, grab a CCU to them ASAP, because they're going to go up in price drastically but those ships are going to be released fairly late. Though the Crucible, it does seem like there might be some work on it soon, so fingers crossed. But those ships are going to go up a lot in price, especially the Endeavour. It's probably going to be the last ship they make, so it's not really a savings in a part of a chain ship. It's more savings if you want it, get it sooner rather than later. Now, yes, the Vulture, I'm expecting this ship to go up to maybe $155. So I've left my CCU chain a wee bit open here. Because I said it's going to go up to about $155. So as we see here, that'll mean I can no longer use the Max, Mantis, Prospector, and the next in the chain is the Taurus, which I've actually got an upgrade to the Taurus for this Vulture, but not from the Vulture. It was from, I can't remember, it's also a not released ship, and it was about 180 price mark. So I've left a gap in my CCU chain to about the $180 price mark, just because I'm expecting this to go up a wee bit, and that will then be the equivalent of an extra war bond in my CCU chain. And from the Constellation Taurus, I've actually got a CCU chain to, now we're not going to be able to see it here because it's not available at the moment. If I come here and go to all ships, we scroll down quite a bit because every single ship's here, and there's a lot of really cheap little ones. I have actually 2 upgrade paths available, and one of them is just going to be turned into credit and the other is going to be actually used, or I might save the second one just in case I build another chain after these. And so it's the Constellation Taurus is the upgrade, and then I've got 2 options for the next part of the chain. One was the Corsair, which was just a store-bought with credit upgrade, I'm pretty sure, so it was 25 in store credit, because the Corsair is going to be coming out relatively soon too, and it's going to go up in price. I'm guessing it's going to go up to 230, 235, roughly that price mark is a good guesstimate. So that's a $25 upgrade I bought with store credit that is then going to save me $15 or $20. And the other one was a CCU to the Andromeda, which again, I think it was actually a Warbond one I bought when I think it was a Warbond one I bought that also when the Constellation was $225 before it went up in price, and I think it was a $10 off, so this was probably going to save me more. So it cost the same in credit, in actual cost, the same as the Corsair upgrade, but it's going to the $240 mark, mainly thanks to that Constellation Andromeda price bump. So that'll probably be the cheaper one, which frustrates me a little bit, because as I said, I want to try out the Corsair. So if I start building a new chain, I'll then justify me getting to keep that one instead of using that one. So yeah, I've got a wee bit of a dilemma there, and that there. But again, using my chains here as a way to describe you, to get you thinking the right sort of lines, because that is what it is all about generally. You're just trying to min-max. If you added up the total value of my fleet and the upgrades that I'm sitting on, because I'm sitting on quite a lot of upgrades, I've got about 90% of my chains upgrades just sitting there, ready to be applied. That if you add up the total, if you were just to raw buy all the stuff I've got, it'd probably cost you about $1,500. But by the time you take away all the giveaways and all that I've done, I've probably only spent about $800 on the game, $800, and that is over about 4 years, just doing like the odd little upgrade here, the odd little upgrade there. So that's over 4 years. Don't just think I've just dropped $800 on the game. No. That's like doing £20 a month kind of thing. And that's the way I used to do it actually. Is every payday I used to just go and buy myself a new upgrade for roughly $20 back when I was trying out every ship in the game, and I was trading stuff in and trying this new one and then trying that new one, and every payday I'd put another 20 into the game, so that gave me a wee bit more reach for trading in all my stuff and trying out stuff again. And that's the way I used to do it. And then when I started getting those savings, I got the discounted packages, and then that meant I couldn't do the trading in constantly, and I started to realise that instead of putting £20 in every payday, if I put £20 aside every payday, and then when it gets to the big sales, I can just go and then drop, say, like $100 or $200 on these CCU chain upgrades, and that's the way I sort of do things now. So yes, I think that has been pretty much everything covered. For the experienced people out there, I hope this has given you a few wee tips and pointers on how I think and on how I do things. The key points, the most important points, is going to be sit on things as much as possible. Nothing is set in stone. As I said, like, options is never a bad thing. If you can use credits to get yourself upgrades like this Corsair, is a good one to get right now. The Vulture, as I said, is a really good one to get right now. So if you're sitting on, let's do another hypothetical. You're at the point in the game where you are. Another point I want to make, we talked those two there. Third point, there'd be a third key point, is bang for buck is something that's really important too. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with you have to work out what you want to do in the game. You have to work out if you want to, it's one of the first things I talked about. And you have to have your plan and your heart set on what you want to do. This is going back to that. Because bang for buck is something you really should think about then. And I was talking about my situation, and I wanted that economical footing. So bang for buck is really important for me. If all you ever want to do is dogfighting, that's great. You get fighters. But for everything else, you should always try and consolidate. It's always better to have one bigger ship than to have several smaller ships. And that is, if we scroll down, let's see. Let's just use this Hull C and this Vulture as an example. This Hull C set you back $350 right now if you just bought it, just straight up bought it. That would, by the time that game's released, if you've got to times this by a number to get the amount it's going to cost you in game, you're going to have to add an extra 0 you add to the end to this number. Like if you're times, and say this ship you times by 100, and that's 140,000 credits. No, 1,400 credits, we'll just say. You need to add an extra 0 to the number you add to this. So if you were doing 1,000 for that ship, it'd be 10,000 for this ship. So it'd be 350,000. So you times that one by 100, you times that one by 1,000. And if you scroll down into the merchantman, you'd times that by 10,000. The higher up you go, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck, as in value in-game to out-game. It is, if you had a graph, and like very early on, the graph is going quite flat, so as you spend more, you're getting a more valuable ship in-game. So if this axis is your value of the ship in-game, and this axis is the amount of money you put into it, starts off relatively flat. But as you go up and up, the curve also goes up and up. So every dollar you spend more on the ship's value outside of game exponentially increases its value in game, and it goes up and up and up to the point where it is at relatively slope going like that, and it skyrockets. And so it is going to be so much easier, even if you can only have one ship, bang for buck, giving yourself an economic footing like me. If that is the sort of lines you're thinking along, definitely better to have one really big ship than it is to have 2 or 3 smaller ships. Even if you like fighters, but you also want to be involved in the industry sort of side of things, if you've want to do both, I would definitely recommend the industry, big industry ship, because you're going to be able to earn the other ships really easy in comparison. Like if you take this merchantman, you do 1 or 2 missions in this merchantman, you'll be able to finance your entire fighter side of the gameplay you want to do easy, with just 1 or 2 missions in the merchantman. Where if you wanted to do it the other way around, you wanted to take your fighters and earn the merchantman, it's going to be months and months of grinding. Maybe you want to grind. That's why I've got 2 accounts, so I can have the grinding and I can have the non-grinding experience. Because you'll notice with me, getting to experience everything is kind of like a big thing for me. So there we go. That is the 3rd key point that I nearly forgot to talk about. So 3 key points. I forgot what was my first one, but I'll just start them all from scratch. Like 3 key points. Have your heart set on plan before you apply them. Sit on them, those upgrades. Sit on them, sit on them, sit on them. Have everything well thought out in advance. Have a plan. Sit on them. Talk to other people about it. Make sure your heart is set in stone before you apply those CCUs. You might be able to get a better deal next year. You might be able to get a better deal when a new ship all of a sudden comes and it's like, oh, look at this, new concept ship just announced. They're great when that happens, because you normally get, you get a war bond when they, no, concept ships you don't normally get a war bond anymore, but you normally get a reduced price. So you get, say, I don't know, new ship announced, $100 right now. So you get that, buy an upgrade to that. Then 5 months down the line, we're working on it. We've increased the price. It goes up to $140 ship. Big jump, because we reconcepted it and they think it needs to get bigger. Happy days, you just saved yourself $40. Now, ship's released, it goes up another $20. There we go, another saving. So it's great to jump on the ships, and that upgrade you bought from like $90 to $100 with store credit because it wasn't a warbond one, now it's just saved you $60, so it's great. Maybe something like that comes out and it overtakes, and damn it, if you just waited, you could have then swapped and got that in. So yes, sit on them for as long as possible. You might be able to find yourself a better deal which just round the corner. And again, I've lost my point. So we did have 3 points and I've kind of just sort of went into them all. But yeah, okay, this video is way longer than I intended. time for me to call it here. So, hope you've all enjoyed this. Remember to just think about it, make sure you think about it, double check it, have a friend think about it, discuss it with the friend as well. Because as soon as you apply them, you're locked in, and you're going to lose all your savings, all your work up to that point if you have to scrap it. So yes, cannot hammer that home enough. Hope I've any questions, definitely leave them down below. I'll happily try and answer them to the best of my ability. I hope that gives you the sort of insight into the way I think and what to think of when you're doing the upgrades, that kind of thing. And when you get used to it, then get used to the basic concepts, it is a lot simpler and a lot less daunting than it first appears. Even after watching this video, I hope you are starting to go, oh, that's actually not too bad. It's actually quite simple if you are a new person, and if you're a more experienced person, hopefully you got 1 or 2 pointers, and maybe you're sitting thinking, oh, that's why they do that. I never really thought about that before. That's actually not a bad idea. Hopefully there's 1 or 2 wee nuggets like that. Right. This video I was hoping was going to be 10 minutes long was actually turned into a mammoth. Hope you have all enjoyed it. I shall see you all next time. Bye, bye.